It's by Dr. Madhushika N. Costa. And she's a senior registrar in rheumatology and rehabilitation, Kandy. Her topic today is bridging the gap from symptoms to syndromes in early rheumatoid arthritis.
Good afternoon all. First of all, I would like to thank the College of Rheumatologists and Rehabilitation Specialists in Sri Lanka for giving me this opportunity today. So I'm going to talk about bridging the gap from symptoms to syndrome in rheumatoid arthritis. First, before starting my talk, we'll go through few cases. These cases are very common cases we all come across at the OPD or the clinic setting, or even when we attend a function or family gathering. So my first patient is a rheumatoid arthritis patient who is following up at our clinic, bringing her daughter with a history of pain in both wrists for 2 months duration. The daughter is 30 years old. And she's having early morning stiffness of about 1.5 hours with reported difficulty in making a fist. She denies any other systemic symptoms, and on examination there is mild tenderness over both wrists and reduced grip strength. Her ESR is found to be 56 with negative rheumatoid factor and anti-CCPA antibodies. We will go through the cases first, and then at the end of my talk, we'll see what we should be doing with these patients. So the second patient is a 35-year-old lady referred to the rheumatology clinic with history of joint pain in her hands for the past 3 months, and she notes stiffness in the morning lasting about 15 minutes. On examination, MCP squeeze test is negative and there is no joint swelling. ESR is 50. Again, rheumatoid factor and anti-CCP antibodies are negative. The third patient, a 45-year-old lady present into the OPD complaining of joint pain in her hands for the past 2 months. She notes stiffness in the morning lasting for about 45 to 60 minutes. And there is MCP joints tenderness with mild swelling, and ESR is 45 with a positive rheumatoid factor. Next patient is a 55-year-old man, complains of hand joint pain, which worsens towards evening and improves with rest. There is no morning stiffness, and examination shows only bony nodules at the proximal interphalangeal joints. ESR is 15. So keeping these patients in mind, I will take you to the 2010 ACR-EULA classification criteria of rheumatoid arthritis. When you go through this criteria, it needs more than 6 out of 10 to diagnose a definite rheumatoid arthritis. Before that, to apply this criteria, the patient should have at least one joint with clinical synovitis. That means joint swelling at presentation. And there should not have any other possible diagnosis for the joint involvement. And the joint involvement should exclude distal interphalangeal joints, first carpometacarpal joints, and first metatarsalophalangeal joints. Now, if we go back to our cases again, you will see that only the third patient had mild joint swelling. Rest of the patients did not have any joint swelling. So now what are we going to do? Now, we cannot label them as rheumatoid arthritis. So we'll go ahead with my talk and see what we can do. I think this is the outline of my talk, and before that, now I think one slide is missing here. So I'm talking about the bridging the gap of rheumatoid arthritis. So there is the concept of pre-RA and RA. So the concept of pre-RA progress into RA is what I'm targeting to talk today, and in view of early identification and intercepting the disease progress. So why do we need this to bridge this gap? Because rheumatoid arthritis is the most frequent form of inflammatory arthritis worldwide, with a worldwide population prevalence of about 0.5 to 1%. And 70% of these patients with recent onset rheumatoid arthritis will develop bone erosions within first 3 years. And from that, again, 25% would develop joint erosions within the first 3 months of symptom onset. So this would lead to major functional deficit, poor quality of life, and even reduced life expectancy. So good thing is, with the current treatment and early diagnosis, we can improve the outcome. And there is evidence that drug-free remission can be achieved in about 10 to 15% of patients if rheumatoid arthritis is detected early. Now, this is an article published in Journal of Ceylon College of Physicians in 2021, containing Sri Lankan data. It shows that the average time duration of a patient with rheumatoid arthritis present into a rheumatology clinic is about 15.8 months. This is behind the target of current guidelines. The current guidelines says to detect rheumatoid arthritis within first 12 months. So there is a gap here. And however, the same article says that the trends are improving and the time duration is shortening. So diagnosing and treating these early joint diseases is a challenge because late diagnosis and treatment cost the patient's quality of life and joints, and overdiagnosis and overtreatment would be exposing these patients unnecessarily to drug toxicities and other side effects. And also the cost is also an issue. Considering all this, first we need to understand the natural history of rheumatoid arthritis. Because rheumatoid arthritis is now understood as a pathogenic continuum of multiple phases rather than a sudden onset event. So this picture illustrates the pathogenesis of rheumatoid arthritis, where genetically susceptible individual with shared epitope of HLA-DR4, when exposed to environmental stimulants like infections, smoking, would develop immune dysregulation and later on develop autoantibodies like rheumatoid factor and anti-CCP antibodies. The phases of rheumatoid arthritis in the continuum, there is this large phase of pre-RA, where the patient is having the risk factors to the development of systemic autoimmunity. And the systemic autoimmunity phase is found to be very long form. This presence of antibodies is found in about 5 to 10 years before the onset of symptoms. And then the development of symptoms like arthralgia, then development of arthritis. So why is it important to understand this continuum? Because it shows that the autoimmunity precedes arthritis by many years, and the arthralgia or the subclinical synovitis often precedes clinical arthritis, and also the damage begins quite early. It is shown that arthralgia and presence of autoantibodies has an approximate risk of 30% to develop rheumatoid arthritis in the future. So here comes the concept of clinically suspect arthralgia. This is a concept actually. It's a recognized preclinical phase of rheumatoid arthritis, representing a phase before irreversible damage occurs. There is a definition set out by EULA in 2016. By that definition, it says the symptomatic phase preceding clinical synovitis judged by an expert rheumatologist with features suggesting imminent rheumatoid arthritis. Now, why is there a place for a rheumatologist here in this definition? Because they have found in their studies with features of clinical suspect arthralgia, without rheumatologist assessment, the positive predictive value of these criteria and the sensitivity are both very low, as about 10%. But when these patients go through a rheumatologist and applied these criteria, the sensitivity has gone up to about 90% with the positive predictive value of about 30%. So that is the role of rheumatologist in identifying these patients. This study, again, published in 2015, has shown that not all arthralgias are having clinically suspect arthralgia. So only about 6.5 to 7% of patients with arthralgia would have clinically suspect arthralgia. And from that cohort, about 20% would progress to rheumatoid arthritis within the next 1 year. So these are the criteria suggested by EULA for, to detect clinically suspect arthralgia. There's 7 features to include in this criteria. Patients should not have features of clinical synovitis, only arthralgia should be there, and there should not be any other explanation for the joint symptoms. So the features are recent onset joint pains for less than 1 year, symptoms located in the MCP joints, morning stiffness of more than 60 minutes, most severe symptoms presenting in the early morning, which is suggestive of an inflammatory arthralgia, and a first degree relative with rheumatoid arthritis. Now, the importance of this first degree relative with rheumatoid arthritis is, again in a study, it has shown that odds ratio of a patient with a first degree relative with rheumatoid arthritis increases the risk of that patient developing rheumatoid arthritis by 4-folds. So that is a very important risk factor. And then in the examination, difficulty in making a fist and positive squeeze test of MCP joints. So 3 or more out of these 7 risk factors suggest a very high risk of patients progress into rheumatoid arthritis in the future. In addition to these features, there are other predictors of progression of clinically suspect arthralgia. The genetic risk, HLA-DR phenotype, but this is not routinely done for these patients. And then multiple EULA CSA features, which is I described earlier, and serology, especially anti-CCPA positivity with higher titers, and elevated CRP, and subclinical inflammation in imaging, that is in ultrasound or MRI. X-ray changes takes time, so ultrasound and MRI changes would precede the onset of detectable arthritis. And smoking is also a risk factor. So with these risk factors, it is found that about 20 to 40% of patients with these risk factors would progress to arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, over the next 2 to 5 years. Now that is about the patients who are having, without synovitis, only arthralgia. Now there is the other people who are having synovitis. So undifferentiated arthritis is defined as the patients with arthritis that does not fulfill rheumatoid arthritis classification criteria, and we cannot find another possible diagnosis for these patients. So these are categorized as undifferentiated arthritis. And again in studies has shown that during the first year of diagnosis, these patients would 30% would progress to have rheumatoid arthritis, and 20% will persisted to have undifferentiated disease, while 30% will achieve remission. The rest of the patients would develop other features of connective tissue disorders or rheumatic disease. This is just a simple comparison between these arthritis types. So the mechanical arthritis and other arthritis, the main difference is the pain is basically non-inflammatory with minimal joint early morning stiffness, which should be less than 30 minutes. And in between clinically suspect arthralgia and undifferentiated arthritis, main difference is undifferentiated arthritis patients would have a clinically detectable synovitis or joint swelling. And there is a difference in duration of early morning stiffness, which I will come to that later. And the among these 3 categories, highest risk of progress into rheumatoid arthritis is for the undifferentiated arthritis category. Now comes the concept of early rheumatoid arthritis. Now, according to the current rheumatoid arthritis guidelines, patients with within 12 months of symptom onset, that is arthritis, are categorized as early rheumatoid arthritis, and beyond that is established rheumatoid arthritis, where the chances of achieving drug-free remission is less when you go beyond 12 months. And in this early arthritis category, again divided into a very early rheumatoid arthritis, which is within 3 months of symptom onset, and 3 to 12 months as the late early rheumatoid arthritis. Now, knowing all these categories, now is there an opportunity to us to delay or prevent development of rheumatoid arthritis? So there comes the concept of window of opportunity. In rheumatoid arthritis, there is a limited period in the early disease in which the disease process can be modified or even reversed. In fact, we may be able to achieve a complete return to normality of the disease. So in this period, the therapeutic intervention is more effective because the disease being more susceptible to the available immunomodulatory drugs. This is again an illustration of the same thing. So what we want is to intercept the disease at the early arthritis before getting into persistent destructive disease. So the window of opportunity lies in that between that red circle, the early arthritis, where the pre-symptomatic arthralgia and early arthritis phase, where we can treat with DMARDs and try and achieve a normal joints. And this is an article published with evidence to show that very early rheumatoid arthritis is the best therapeutic opportunity in clinical practice to achieve a complete remission and to stop the erosive course of rheumatoid arthritis, indicating that the best window of period would be the first 3 months of symptom onset. Now, how are you going to intercept the transition of these patients from symptoms to syndrome of RA? So when a patient comes to you with joint symptoms for less than 1 year, we have to assess the patients stepwise. So first thing is the most important thing is the clinical evaluation, which is the cornerstone. So we need to determine whether the patient is having inflammatory or non-inflammatory type of arthritis, and whether the patient is having synovitis or not, and what is the etiology of the arthropathy with the history and examination. Now, once we recognize the patient as having inflammatory joint pain, this could be done easily with these S factors like stiffness, swelling, and squeezing. Now, stiffness means early morning stiffness, which predicts the disease persistence. If the patient is having only arthralgia, the duration is more than, if it is more than 60 minutes, it is having high risk for progression to arthritis. And if the patient is having features of early arthritis, the early morning stiffness duration is about 30 minutes is enough for you to predict the risk. And then the joint swelling. So you have to make sure that joint swelling is not due to any trauma or any other pathology, and it is not bony swelling. It is the joint synovial swelling. And more joints are involved, the risk is higher. And then comes the squeeze test, which is a popular test among the rheumatologists. It is a simple but highly specific maneuver for detecting inflammatory arthralgia, even in the absence of visible swelling. So the technique is to apply moderate to firm pressure across the MCPs or MTP joints with the lateral compression. The amount of pressure should be, you should be able to elicit pain in a joint with subclinical synovitis, but not in a normal joint. So if you squeeze too much, even a normal joint may get the pain, but it is a technique we have to master to identify these patients. If there is a positive result that indicates with tenderness of pain, it indicates subclinical synovitis or bone marrow edema or osteitis. Now, again, there are limitations. This is specific but not sensitive, because it has shown that even patients with joint swelling may not always have the squeeze test positivity. And you cannot use its squeeze test alone to diagnose these patients. You have to assess the patient as a whole. And the next, once you identify that the patient is having inflammatory arthritis, then you need to exclude other differentials of possible joint involvement, inflammatory arthritis, other than rheumatoid arthritis. And once you make the diagnosis, the next step is to predict the outcome of these patients. Now, there is no single tool or investigation available for this purpose. You have to combine the factors like imaging, lab tests, clinical features, and everything to assess the risk. Because clinical examination alone may miss about 30% of synovitis patients. And lab investigations, again, they can be negative or normal and can give a false reassurance sometimes. So we need to take all these factors together to predict the outcome of these patients. Imaging improves the risk stratification with ultrasound and MRI if available, and MRI is the gold standard for this purpose to detect early joint involvement in the subclinical synovitis stage. However, because of the availability, expertise availability and everything, these are not yet widely used or included in the guidelines. Now, these are the patient's predictors of early arthritis, that means to progress to rheumatoid arthritis. Now, higher tendon swollen joint count, raised acute phase reactants, presence of autoantibodies, and erosions on X-ray are risk factors for both disease persistence and severe disease. Duration of symptoms for more than 3 months, early morning stiffness, and cigarette smoking are predictors of disease persistence, and older age and more functional impairment and obesity and this shared epitope indicates the risk of having severe disease. Now, once you have predicted the risk, especially in patients with clinically suspect arthralgia, now what to do? If the patient is having low risk, you may discharge the patient if there is a very low risk of progress into rheumatoid arthritis. But if the patient is having high risk, then these patients need regular monitoring. So we need to create a safety net around these patients. We need to educate these patients regarding the red flags, the S factors that I mentioned. And there should be a pathway for early referral for these patients. If early inflammatory arthritis clinics available, that is better. If not, early referral to a rheumatologist. And also, if the patients develop flares, these patients should have rapid access to the clinics. Treatment-wise, at the moment, there are many studies done and many studies ongoing, but at the moment, there is no evidence to support starting DMARDs at this stage because they have not proven to prevent progression to rheumatoid arthritis, starting DMARDs at this stage. The treatment is symptomatic, basically with NSAIDs, and we can modify the risk factors if there is obesity or smoking. And steroids at this stage is not recommended unless assessed by a rheumatologist because these patients may progress unknowingly with being asymptomatic with steroids. They may progress to having the disease with erosions. So these are the recommendations for early referrals in inflammatory joint disease. So this is from EULA. They recommend this, all new patients with inflammatory arthritis should be referred to a rheumatologist in the early phase and ideally within 6 weeks of symptom onset. So they expect the referrals quite early in these patients. And they say regardless of blood tests or radiographic findings, these referrals should be done and you should not even wait for the results if you are in the primary setting. Because the proportion of patients with severe persistent inflammatory arthritis may have normal or negative examination results at the onset of symptoms. So how are you going to intercept the disease in early arthritis? Now, whatever the category patient is having, undifferentiated arthritis, very early arthritis or late early arthritis, the early recognition is the first step, and next step is the early treatment with treat to target strategy. Here the strategy is to achieve remission. Drug-free remission is the target here at the early stage. And these patients need regular monitoring of disease activity so that we see whether the patients are responding, the disease activity is going down, and whether we are achieving the remission. If not, we may have to escalate the treatment. Now, very early rheumatoid arthritis is the phase representing the most ideal target to treatment. And for undifferentiated arthritis, there is no proper guidelines how to manage, but it's common practice. If the patient is having high risk of progression, you may start treatment. And treatment-wise, the main first-line treatment is methotrexate, and with or without low-dose glucocorticoids as the bridging therapy. Depending on the disease activity, we may go for drug combinations and biologics later on of the disease. So we'll go back to our cases now. And the first patient who is 30-year-old lady with the mother having rheumatoid arthritis, coming with wrist joint pains with the early morning stiffness of 1.5 hours and difficulty in making a fist. Now, this patient is having 3 of the criteria fulfilling the clinically suspect arthralgia. And she's having high ESR, though the rheumatoid antibodies are negative. Now, this patient is having clinically suspect arthralgia with high risk of progression to rheumatoid arthritis in the future. So she needs early referral to rheumatology clinic and regular follow-up. The second patient, 35-year-old lady, referred to the rheumatology clinic with history of joint pains in her hands for the past 3 months. With early morning stiffness of only about 15 minutes. NCP squeeze test is negative, no joint swelling, but her ESR is 50 with negative antibodies. Now in this patient, what are we going to do and what is the diagnosis? The joint pain is more or less suggestive of an non-inflammatory type of arthralgia. However, the ESR is significantly high. So she may not be having clinically suspect arthralgia or rheumatoid arthritis, but we definitely need to evaluate this patient for high ESR. The next patient, a 45-year-old lady presenting to the OPD complaining of joint pain in her hands for the past 2 months, noted stiffness in the morning lasting for about 45 to 60 minutes. There is mild swelling over MCP joints with tenderness, and ESR is 45 with the positive rheumatoid factor. I think this is an easy case, but however, again, the duration is 2 months, which is very early rheumatoid arthritis. But there's only about, if you put this patient again into the criteria, you will fulfill only about exactly about 6. Score would be exactly about 6 if the rheumatoid factor TT is not given here. If it is very high, the criteria will be about exactly 6. But still, it is worth treating this patient as very early rheumatoid arthritis or undifferentiated arthritis. The last patient, a 55-year-old man complaining of hand joint pain, which worsens towards evening and improves with rest, which is suggestive of a mechanical type of pain rather than inflammatory pain. There is no morning stiffness, and on examination only bony nodules in the proximal interphalangeal joints suggestive of Heberden's nodes, and ESR is only 15. So this is a patient with hand osteoarthritis, not an inflammatory arthritis or an rheumatoid arthritis patient. So for this patient, does not need DMARDs. He just needs symptomatic management and maybe non-pharmacological treatment with occupational therapy and other things. So we are coming to the end of my talk here. Now, key takeaways for practice from which I wanted to highlight with this talk today is be alert about clinically suspect arthralgia, see them early and stratify the risk and act at the right moment and refer them early. And Now, clinical suspect arthralgia is a concept which changes how closely we follow up our patients and not yet how we treat them. It is about the follow-up and the referrals. And detecting and treating rheumatoid arthritis as early as possible, that is at this stage of undifferentiated arthritis or very early rheumatoid arthritis, is the key to interception of disease progression in rheumatoid arthritis. So these are my references, and most of my references and pictures has come from this 20th EULA e-learning course material of rheumatology and the other articles. I would like to acknowledge my consultant, my mentor, Dr. Utpala Disanayaka, consultant rheumatologist at National Hospital Kandy here, for guiding me for my career and to this presentation today. And thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Madhusika, talking on a very, fine-tuning area of rheumatoid arthritis. We are, weighing the disease between whether to treat or not. I think it's useful for the medical community as well. Any questions?
Congratulations for the excellent presentation.
Thank you, madam.
When we examine, we have to apply minimum 4 kilograms of weight. That means your nail bed have to blanch to detect the inflammation.
Okay. Thank you, madam.
Thank you. Thank you, Madhusika. So I have another announcement to make. We have a CTD ILD workshop in Kandy happening on next Thursday, 12th. We will circulate the poster in your groups. I tried to get that on the screen, which we could not do. We will be circulating that. It's going to happen in Kandy in collaboration with the College of Respiratory Physicians. Thank you. We have no CME in April. We'll meet in May again. Thank you.